Welcome to What's Your Sign? I'm Julia Loken.
I'm Stevie Goldstein.
And I'm the little electron of this podcast.
Oh, that's
Aqua
so cute.
Styly. Aqua Styly.
I had to look up how does lightning happen?
What's up with this?
The cloud electrons are attracting the ground's protons.
Oh, classic.
So it's not. Oh, that makes sense because you can have lightning without rain. Correct?
Yeah. Lightning happens when the negative charged electrons in the bottom of the cloud are attracted to the positive charges, protons in the ground.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like elementary school familiar. I'm like,
That's
right,
science.
yes, protons, neutrons. Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only
I remember that from
playing.
second grade, right? Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Ooh, I'll put this on the show notes, but I saw a really cool video of like lightning off the coast in California because we've been experiencing this atmospheric river in this during this January time, but collective lightning. I'm texting it to you guys right now. It's just trippy. Shit is just quite trippy. I love it.
Lightning's cool.
Lightning is cool. Can be scary. But in those winter time when it's wet, it's like the fear of, fires or this thing is subsided.
Lightning is scary when it might catch something on fire or you might get hit by it and be electrocuted, obviously.
Of course.
From a safe distance, lightning is very cool.
I like lightning. I was electrocuted in a storm, not by lightning.
Whoa.
Or who knows, but I had touched an electronic device in a storm. I was grilling outside. This is such a stupid story, but I had just gotten out of the pool because it had started to rain, but we were grilling. And so I was trying to clean up at my apartment complex. And we had a grill light that was attached to the thing. And I guess something was broken on it, or I don't know exactly, but I grabbed it and then I knew right away to let it go. And thank God I was wearing rubber flip-flops at the time. And my older roommate who was with me was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't know what just happened." And she's like, "I don't either, but you look like you're maybe sick or something." And I was like, "I think we just need to go upstairs." And as we were walking up, she was asking me "So what exactly did you feel?" And I'm like, "I think an electrical current." She's like, "Oh, I think you just got electrocuted." Anyway, that's why I'm like this. But it does reframe for me a lot of those getting struck by lightning feelings and stuff, because I'm like, if you're hearing it after you're seeing it, it's pretty far away from you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it's striking and you're hearing the sound, that's when you're feeling the rumbling where it's it's close to you. So whoa. I don't know. I do think it's pretty, but it's it doesn't scare me as much anymore.
Yeah.
I feel for most people, it's such a rare sight and it feels like that phenomenon thing. I remember there was recently, it ended up being a viral marketing gag where some guy from the NFL got electrocuted at the electric lightning capital of the world in Venezuela, but then they faked it so that you could buy casino gambling tokens. Anyways, I won't promote that video. I won't promote that video, but I was like, wait, where's the lightning capital of the world when I saw that? And I'm looking it up right now. It's in the Andes Mountains at Lake Maracaibo in South America. 297 nocturnal thunderstorms per year, 1.2 million lightning bolts every year, 233 flashes of lightning per square mile. Boom, boom, boom. 10 minutes of lightning there can illuminate all of South America. So if you want to look up some epic lightning shit, Catatumbo lightning, the everlasting storms in, I believe this is Venezuela. Again, this is Google result one. I do remember it was in South America, but I'll get the links for our lightning freaks out here.
Wow.
But, yeah. Weather. I think weather is a solid topic. I'm always interested.
That's what this whole podcast is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Weather period. Sody pops. And sometimes the planets. I I mean, I don't know if I'm looking forward to Aquarius season. I think I am, but it's jury's still out. I don't know. I think I'm
I
just ready for something new.
we're just so triggered because we've had the eclipses and fixed signs and like our signs
Yeah.
that anytime something fixed is coming up, we're like, oh no, what's
Like,
gonna
I
happen?
guess. Yeah. And maybe it's like the final days of Saturn and Aquarius too feels like I just don't think of as being a sign that's like, oh sure, my co-home ruler like just breezed through me by. I mean, we will have like um a sun conjunct Saturn, at some point during this time. I have the date. I'll get to it. But anyways, yeah, it just feels like the last of Saturn Aquarius in this Aquarius season. I don't know. It feels like school ending or something, or like like getting your yearbook signed. Like, oh, we are going to move on from Aquarius kind of being in the forefront of our conversations for a minute because it's just been so there for some time.
Well, we're gonna move on from Saturn and Aquarius, but then we're into Pluto and
Oh fuck!
Aquarius. So
I
we've also kind of
I keep
just
forgetting
begun
that.
with
Oh my
Aquarius, but I think in a
god! I keep
different, but in a,
forgetting that.
but I think in a different way. What this
Yeah.
made me think of, and this kind of like came to me, struck by lightning, thinking of, the sign Aquarius, whether traditionally the traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, the modern ruler is Uranus, but I think both signs, however different, are about freedom, kind of. And
Mm-hmm.
thinking of, oh, I also watched, I gotta link this. I watched a great short that's an Oscar nominated short called My Year of Dicks. And it's like an
Oh.
animated short that this woman made. It's very cute and wonderful. But there was a character in there that was like a straight edge, hardcore person, and they were like, I'm straight edge because I want to be like white knuckled in reality and whatever. And it made me think of that's a very Aquarian archetype to me, of like a hardcore person that is just like, I'm sober. I feel everything at every moment. I'm completely aware, and how that is like a
Mm-hmm.
very hardcore existence. But it also is one where you are essentially free from kind of any, you're free. You're completely free. Not I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think you are still shackled by, the fact that you're a human and you have emotions, and even even white knuckling it through reality doesn't abdicate you from that. But what this made me think of this Aquarius season, as we are kind of wrapping up Saturn and Aquarius, or at the very least, we're getting to those later degrees. So when that Sun
Mm-hmm.
Saturn conjunction happens, um, it isn't like, you know, it's not 0 degrees Aquarius. We are kind of moving through, we're familiar with this. We've seen her, we've had those Saturn Uranus squares over and over. And so I think that we're there. My question to y'all is,
Oh.
um, like, what what is freedom to you? Because I think that that
Mm.
also is a thing that we are discussing, and I think leads us into Pluto and Aquarius as well. But
Mm-hmm.
thinking about like, what does that mean?
Mm.
Well, obviously we know exactly right away. That's a big question, I think. To me, I think there is some kind of inverse of fear where I don't think that you can be free if
Mm.
you walk out into the world and you're afraid that someone might be following you to hurt you. Whether that be like, you know, issues we've had with the police and race issues, or like women and sexual assault, or a number of other things. I think there are certain things that keep you like shackled, so to speak, sociopolitically, where it's like sometimes like you have to have like a weapon on you, like as a woman, just to walk in the street at night or whatever. That to me, I think is like a shackle. I also feel like, to me, a lot of it is just being able to do the things you want. And not to say that that means you don't work, or you don't like do things sometimes that are obligations, or that you don't, that are in service of others. But I think another issue that we're having with like freedom sociopolitically is that people aren't paid enough to like not only do the things that they want, but get the things that they need. And
Yeah.
we're seeing during this Aquarius season something that kind of just stuck out to me, because we were just talking about it before we started recording, but we're having Ceres, right? Retrograde on February 3rd.
Ceres. I'm not exactly sure how.
Yeah. And that's like a lot about agriculture and food stuff. And I think right now we're having such a difficult time. Like, there's enough food. Why is everything so expensive? And I understand with gas prices, and I understand like economically why it's happening. I'm not asking like that question. What I'm asking is, why aren't we figuring out ways to drop those costs and make sure that they're like, is the same thing that I was talking with a friend about a really expensive place I went to, and he was like, it's not fair that someone that works in restaurants can't afford, you made a restaurant where they can't afford to eat there. And it's like the same thing with the grocery store. Like, these people you were calling heroes 2 years ago can't afford eggs, like that they're selling you, you know. It's like, we shouldn't be in that situation. So I think some of that stuff, I think, affects freedom and just being able to kind of survive without people checking in on you. I mean, like, not people, the government and like agency checking in on you.
Yeah. I think same, but I think choice is what it really comes down to. Like, the freedom to choose to get to do the things you want to do is such a privilege. And, you know, being born in 1989 in the United States of America is like, pretty cushy. You know, that's like a pretty cushy spot to like experience life. But I think the choice, knowing that like we know better, knowledge is freedom. And I think that's been the frustrating thing of the freedom of now, is like, so we know better, but we don't do better. And boy, is that frustrating. So yeah, I think having choices is freedom. That's why, like, you know, politics and right-wingy stuff being about taking away choices, which I know they reflect back with like guns and blah, blah, blah. But then also, your choices shouldn't hurt others. And like, it's a circle of like morality or whatever the fuck. But yeah, I mean, freedom is also like, and maybe this is a very basic sense for my thought of freedom. I was like, I would like to be able to enjoy a nice meal and not have to sacrifice something else to enjoy a nice dinner and a nice vacation every once in a while. That seems reason. That seems in 2020. I was about to say 2023. That seems reasonable. And then also, you know, no one's free until we're all free too. It's all just the trickle down of caring, right? Even with this extreme flooding and weather we've seen in California, we were talking about it off pod. It's like, oh, I haven't been faced with climate catastrophe. I've only seen it on social media and on TV, but that suffering doesn't mean I'm okay. And like, even after Roe versus Wade reversal, you know, like, but you're in California. It's like, that doesn't make me feel any better at all, because that also could change. Like, we've just saw things we didn't think could change, and now this has changed. So I don't know. I think freedom is choice and freedom is knowledge. And then not the fear. I think that inverse of fear too. Like, it still sucks that every time I go into a movie theater, I think, was this the time I die? Yeah. Like, that's like not a great, it's not I don't want to die at Megan. Come on. Like that. Yeah. It was great. I mean, and if that was my last thing I saw, okay.
Depends on which scene.
But no, like, yeah, you should be able to exist without being. I know what you say about being watched on. It's the same when they were talking about making $600 payments on Venmo have to go track to the IRS, and it's like, bro,
leave us alone. And also,
leave us alone. And also, small businesses started back when they could like not have to be all permitted. Like, I used to work at a Jimmy John's when I was in high school and early college, and it's like, oh, so he started this sandwich company out of a cooler, an unmarketed, unpermitted cooler outside of colleges, and made all this money because of dad's startup money, and that's okay. Like, I feel like that's the part of like history and education. It's like, we need to bring like back loose business laws. Maybe like is what I'm thinking, because then you don't get that chance to start your things. And why did all these people get to capitalize on it and win when, you know, you're trying to track my $600 Venmo payments, which is probably just for over expensive rent and car payments. Yeah. And even just like trading, with
it's more like money trading, not like money spending or whatever.
Yeah, this isn't doing anything.
It's not even
so
that.
Aquarian also. Like, it's just like, oh, so everything is wrong, and it can be fixed. And it really isn't that it isn't that complicated. But as long as power, greed, corruption, capitalism maintains.
I think the thing to me about the Venmo thing is like, oh, you want to track my $600 payment? What about the government officials that are like getting paid off from the stock market and like doing like, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like underhanded deals or whatever where they
like insider trading.
Thank you.
Where's your, let's see your Venmo.
Let's check on your Venmo payments. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even have Venmo. You have like whatever's in the Cayman Islands. Like that is just like beyond.
Who's liking and putting emojis on y'all's payments? If we could do, your constituents can do that.
We started rewatching Girls last night, which was just like trigger warning millennial culture. But Adam Driver's character, Adam, again, I'm like on episode 3, season 1. So very like peak early Girls. And he's just like, you don't want to be a slave for anyone to make money. I mean, I do get $800 a month for my grandma. And you're just like, yeah, like it's just that era of I'm an artist, you should be funding me. But it really, I don't know, just thinking of like the Nepo baby conversations we've had and rich kid conversations of like, you don't want to be tied to anyone. It's like, oh no, you got lucky that your family started Jimmy John's or whatever and bought houses in Florida. Or are we even reading about, this is a tangent, like Graham Parsons? We were listening to a lot of Graham Parsons when we were in the desert. We're like, oh, his dad owns 90% of all the orange groves in Florida. Okay. Like, so most people, like if you made it and you have none of that, like you're really so rare. Like you really are just that so rare if you did not have a single ounce of like that financial uplifting, even if it's like $800 a month from your grandma who's not a famous person or whatever it is.
Well, and also not even just that, but overcoming racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes,
everything,
your sexuality. Like there are other ways that, you know, it's like quote unquote easier to be like a rich person of color than a poor person of color or whatever. It's like there are levels to all of it. And so it is, I mean, someone like Oprah who has overcome so much, you know, where it's like looking at her natal chart, it's like, whoa, I don't know.
Yeah.
She has AQUA something, right?
She's Aquarius.
She's Aquarius.
And I believe Sag rising.
And so also, well, I'm in like a media rec, which she also feels very Aquarian. We watch, Pablo's read the book, but I haven't read the book. Now I want to read the book. So the book was better than the movie we watched, but Meet Me in the Bathroom about the indie sleaze movement of like 9/11 era New York with yeahs and strokes and moldy peaches was really, really good. But you just realize like, oh, they were like pre-gentrifiers, right? Because they were just kind of going into these like warehousey spaces and wanted to build a scene. And then they got kicked out. Like then after 9/11, then the Williamsburg people wanted to leave Manhattan, go into Williamsburg, go into Brooklyn. And then they got kicked out. And you just realize like, that moment was such a moment because all the elements were right. And part of that element of creating a budding art scene is affordable spaces for artists to gather and practice. And especially with bands that have drums and loud shit, like you need to be out there. And yeah, then they just really had the right time with the right people and like all the right ingredients. And I thought it was a really interesting, like Pabs was like, this is kind of a sleepy doc. I'm like, you just got to take it for like the information of like, here's just a straight study of like what was happening at this point in time. And seeing like the dudes from Interpol walking around the ash and debris of 9/11 is very strange. Like it's just like, it's very interesting imagery to witness of like, oh yeah, this is the backdrop of this indie rock of this time. There was feeling like, well, to quote Janis Joplin, is like freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. And that's where they're at with like, okay, everything that's popular is pop music, you know, late 90s TRL. What if we just go be freak folks and just smear blue makeup all over our faces and just who gives a shit? Yeah, it feels very Aqua Rec for this time
totally
period.
And I think before we get into maybe more of what's gonna come down the pipeline, I want to hear about what Julia thinks of freedom.
Well, the thing that came to me, it's funny because it's, you know, almost Sag. And I feel like that if you read about that, that's the thing that they're always like, they're always about freedom. They're this. And I'm always like, well, what the fuck does that? I don't know what that fucking means. what came to me this morning when I was thinking about this, getting ready for this episode, was like knowing exactly what you are like doing or whatever, like going like, oh, this is having clarity of, I don't know, like not purpose, but going, yeah, being like, I'm doing exactly what I want, need to be doing every day. And how there is so much, I think what both of you talked about, there is so much stuff where people are having to um not do what they want or go, I'll do what I want when it's this time or when it's this, and you're always kind of putting those things at action, and it is for this other, like, sometimes it's for correct reasons or for reasons that you can feel okay about, but I think a lot of people are having to be really, yeah, are like not, are trying to do exactly what they want to do and are afraid of other people or are literally in danger from other people's judgments of them or whatever. So I think it's both like clarity in your own place and also the ability to like trust that other people are doing the same and have that same thing like both for you and for themselves, and we aren't, so we can all be kind of like doing what we need to do. And I think that is also scene building in that same way where it's like, yeah, this is my band, this is the kind of music I make, and I can recognize when someone else is making exactly the kind of music that they need to be making, and I want to be part of a place where people are making the kind of music that they want to fucking make. And
Mhm.
that's like that then everyone's kind of, obviously, and not exactly using indie sleaze era early New York as the perfect example, because there was also a lot of where there's freedom, there are also people that exploit those things, thinking of a specific canceled artist in there too. But I think that ultimately is like to just do what you want to do, or like the what you feel is right for
Yeah.
you.
This is why we need a Sagittarius to explain freedom. We should have
Yeah.
that. We should do a TikTok series where it's like, what does this mean to you? But it has to be something about your sign.
Yeah.
Because this Aquarius season, this is like ramping up to a major transitional period for me. Not like astrology wise, but just stuff that is I know happening in my life at this time.
Mhm.
And so I feel like that's what I'm going to go into this situation with,
Mhm.
is having clarity on what I want to do and where I want to be, and how I can get there. I can figure out without the government, without the help
Mhm.
of the checker inners.
Well, because
Mhm.
I think something that we've talked about this often on our podcast about how like the, Aquarius does get the humanitarian rap, but there are also our very evil evil Aquarians who you
Yeah.
would not call humanitarians. But I think that there is something deeply Aquarius, and it's why they often don't resonate with astrology. That is very individual in that, like, yeah, I do me and you do you, and we all do each other or whatever. Like we all do ourselves, and if we all just did us, then it would be kind of taken care of or whatever. Like, but because each person does have, I think where we get those communal things is that it is also deeply aware that each person has a role to play. We can't all be, if we're in a band, we can't all be playing guitar. That's, I mean, maybe if that is what we decide our
Is
band
that the
is, if we
vision?
go,
Yeah.
yeah, like if that is what we say, hey, we're trying something new, we're an all guitar band, great. But like everybody's playing an instrument together, we make music, but it's only when we're all playing our individual parts at the time we're supposed to be doing them.
Julia,
Mhm.
please don't criticize my band Trans-Siberian Guitarchestra.
Whoa.
Hey, I'll be front row selling. I'll be selling merch after the show. Big Trans-Siberian Guitar Orchestra groupie over here.
This is your sign to start a band. If I think Aquarius season's a great start a band
Yeah,
season.
100%.
And
100.
also, I was just talking to Aquarius too, and they're like, you should throw a retreat, like a astrology retreat, but like, who's coming? And I was like, fair question, because
Mhm.
that's I'm even with this like meet me in the bathroom, New York '01 energy. It's like, yeah, it wasn't just anybody's welcome in here hippie love fest. It was like, you're cool. I like your shit. Play on shows with me. I like this. I want to cultivate this scene. It is, I think that's where the Aquarian dictatory totalitarian is like, no, no, no. I have the vision. And honestly, you're not. It I think that
Oh.
snobby wanting to be cool Aquarius thing comes up, but like, and maybe it's my
It
11th
still
house. And it's
fits.
like, I get it. Like, I get
Well,
that too.
that's
It's like, if
why
you have a vision for the movement, you have the vision for the movement.
that's why retreats are expensive. Because
Yeah.
they're trying
They're
to
screening you.
they're trying to price out people that aren't that, and if
Yeah.
they can't price you out for being weird, then they want to at least be compensated for the time that they have to spend with the
With
weird
your weird
person at the
ass.
retreat. And not everyone is going to be weird. There's going to be reward in having some of the people that, you know, maybe could barely afford it but really care about the thing and really care about
Mhm.
you or whatever. But there's going to be some that you're going to be like, oh, I can't. Thank God they're paying my salary
Yeah.
this time.
Well, that's
Mhm.
very communal. All of those things too, of the like community, needing to be in community with people, because we do need to learn how to be nice to a weirdo and nice to it, to find those values and to say like, oh, okay, maybe this is a little bit more work, but I do, but also that always adds something to the retreat when there's like that also like kind of, I don't know, gives some
Someone we
form.
all know is a weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you need
Yeah.
it. It's not a retreat without it.
I think just looking at this first week too of Aquarius season, it feels like it just starts up with such a bang because we have like Aquarius season starts January 20th, and then the new moon is right after on the 21st, and then Uranus goes direct. And I know with like outer planets, you know, they're retrograde so much more of the year, but it being Aquarius is home, you know, modern planet, I think just feels like, especially after this dusty kind of stale beginning of the year, like, okay, like, you know, no, all systems are go. Like, we can emerge from the muck. And I wrote something down about like the energy.
I like
I'll find it.
Aquarius stationing direct though too, in the kind of background of what we've been talking about, that Saturn Uranus square that we are out of
Mhm.
exactly, but is still there. That I think Uranus in Taurus is there to go like, hey Aquarius, before you completely assert your vision, like remember these other things, to kind of, not, I don't want to say keep it in check, but it's there to be
Mhm.
like, hey, we got to keep these things in mind. I know you have this pure idea of how things could be, but there are still some things we need to be mindful of and changing
Yeah. Yeah.
on the ground.
Something I wrote down was like, it could be a good time to see where others see our gifts too. I think Aquarius, back to that, like curating who they want in their group, like assembling the dream team. I think Aquarians have that gift to be like, no, you're actually like a really good singer. Like, or you actually, I love your design style or whatever it is. So maybe if we are wanting that, it feels like this is very the butterfly from cocoon time after a lot of the retrograde stuff and sleepy, slower energy of Capricorn season, which I know is probably frustrating considering Capricorn is really like goal oriented and wanting to move and get it grooving. So this could be, I still think, a nice like game planning time, but with insight from others of like where they even see us bringing our gifts or talents.
There feels like a real move towards some radical acceptance too, and I think the
Yeah.
word radical too is very, Aquarian, but in that
Mhm.
sense where it goes like, yeah, my voice sounds weird, this is my weird singing voice, but I'm gonna sing. Like, I'm not gonna not talk. What am I gonna, yeah, what am I
Yeah.
gonna be quiet forever? This is how I sound. So you either like it, you either buy my album or you don't, but this is the sound of my voice and it's not changing. We have that like sextile to Jupiter from the new moon on the 21st. We also have it from the sun on the 24th of January. And we also have a sextile to Chiron, which that will happen, from the moon as well, too, as it's like moving through Aquarius and that. But a sun sextile Chiron on the 1st of February. And so it does feel kind of like that, in Capricorn season, we've been having those squares and having that kind of more like, I don't know, painful. This feels a little bit more like, oh, all of a sudden this can become not less painful. It's still your wound, but it can be used to your advantage. And now it is something that only you have that someone else doesn't. It is that thing that makes you a
Mhm.
little bit special, quirky, whatever.
We also
Yeah.
have some semi-sextiles and things that are going to be positioning themselves in angles with the node and stuff. So I think like that is that, like, because that node is leaving this year. So this is those touches of like, hey, like, reminder, we're wrapping this thing up. Like, you're still going to sound like this for your singing example. It's like, you're still going to sound like this when the node changes. So like, what are the little like taps we're getting on the shoulder to remind us?
I remember I had an art teacher when I first started art college, and I was going for photography, not for drawing, but you had to take all the classes. I took a drawing class, and my teacher was like, so you either need to lean into this elementary style of drawing that you do or get better, like, or take class. He's like, no, not one is right or wrong, but your style is very crude. So you don't like, be like, I wanted this to be better, but I'm sorry, it's crude. It's like, embrace the crude. Or if you want to get technical, then you're going to have to like ramp it up and get technical. And I was like, I have to take drawing 101. So I'm not thinking too much about it, but I guess I'll just own my crudeness. And I think too, even, I mean, this is like, to age myself, it's like very pre-Instagram culture, where now I think, yeah, someone, your crudeness or your lack of skill it's who cares? It's style. Like the skill, who cares about the exact skill set if the style hits for people or resonates, or I don't know, you're not like double backing on what you're presenting in terms of the style.
Well, I had to get in a fight with someone at work. One of my coworkers recently was commenting on my work in a way where it's like it wasn't asked for, and also it's not their job to do that. And I had to tell them, because whatever, they were talking about all the education that they have in the subject. And I said, I have actual paid and lived experience, and it's actually my job to do this. So there are things that you can be taught and you can be able to critique or whatever, but you don't actually know what I'm being asked to do, how I'm being asked to do it, what I'm being paid for it. And it's also not your business. And it's one of those things where I had to be like, look, this is the way I do it. If you want to do it, talk to our boss and we can all meet and have a conversation. Until then, I didn't ask for feedback. And so it is, I think that's very like fixed sign. That's very North Node stuff. It's also like something I get paid very little to do. So I'm not going to put in the effort to take critique I didn't ask for from someone who isn't a part of the team or whatever.
Isn't in charge of paying you.
Yeah. But I do think it's the same thing where it's like, sorry that it looks whatever to you, but this is my style of making drinks and this is how I have to do it because, I get paid minimum wage or whatever.
Well, I love that thinking of Aries and Aquarius sextiling together, or thinking of that and what you said, Stevie, of that, like your crudeness is style. And that to me is those two signs kind of together, where it's like, this is how you do it is kind of also all anyone has. Like there is, if technique is a thing where we're all learning the same technique, we're all learning the same information, what you then make up for it or lack in it is kind of, I don't know, that is all you have, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like outsider art, right? Like self-taught, or, not trying to be in this scene or trying to be regarded by your peers, but your peers can't get enough of you or whatever it is. Yeah. It's like, well, there's some things that are just undeniable. And like, there's some things that are just interesting and the je ne sais quoi, you don't know why. I can't remember what time of year it is. There's a big outsider art fest in Paris. I think every year. I've always wanted to go to it because there was I don't know if it's still functioning, but there's an outsider art gallery in Chinatown in LA. And I might have closed with the pandemic, and I hope it's not. I'm going to have to research this after I'm off this, but they had like all these drawings from this woman who was in a like old folks home, and she did fashion sketches. And like one day, like a nurse assistant was like, this is stunning. Like awesome, you're making this amazing shit. But it was just some like 80-year-old granny who didn't choose that life. And I think that's that Aquarian thing too, where it's like some things just have to, I think that's where I'm coming back to, like, what do your peers and what does the community have to say about it? Because who cares who got the most technical school at bartending school or at RISD or did all the art stuff or did all the programs or whatever, because what's the style? Like, what does it hit? But does it also connect?
Nothing is art until you're fucking dead. Until someone is there to say what a thing is. I just was at the Getty Villa
Mhm.
and they have a bunch of, and I know museums are problematic and that's its own thing, but there was like stuff that would be like a bowl or that. And it's like, that wasn't someone who made that because they were like, I'm the greatest bowl artist in
Right.
the world. They just were like, yeah,
Time has passed.
I'm a silversmith. This is what I make. And my detailing is this. And it then gets in a museum and it's this or whatever. But it's like those same things are, it's like, you're Lisa, this is my job, this is my lived experience, where it's like, well, I'm doing, this is what my freedom is, knowing what my job is and how to execute that thing and doing it. And so it makes it, then I can go, fuck you, I don't care if you like it, that's not my bag. And
Well,
we'll
also,
let the Getty Villa decide.
It's let me know when the people that come into the museum say they hate it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Let me know
Yeah.
when the guest complains. Let me know when my boss tells me I'm doing. Of course, I'll take. It's not that I can't have feedback. It's just that
No.
It's not coming from you.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's just one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this episode in a podcast museum sometime in the future, self-referential as hell? I could.
Yeah. Well, and then it's also, I mean, this is very, Aquarian too, where it's like, well, what if we don't, if everyone's making stuff all of the time, then like life is a museum and we don't even need them. What are we preserving? We're living it. We're making it all the time.
Damn.
Maybe.
Any other transits we should go through?
Looking at this Mercury going into Aquarius on the 11th.
I was gonna say we have to kind of backpedal at the beginning week. We mentioned there'll be the new moon, Uranus direct in Taurus on the 22nd, Sun sextile Jupiter Aries, and then we'll have Venus in Pisces too, which I think is a nice little plot twist in this. It's a softener. It is also very creative. So back to starting the band, I think that could be, Venus is happy in Pisces, so I think this could be a really nice romantic time, creative time, all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, we're not getting anything. The weather doesn't look too raw or rough for Aquarius season. It feels really supportive. Like we'll have this trine from Mars Gemini on the 29th to the Sun, Mercury trine Uranus too. So I think that those kind of ideas or brainstorms or whatever that stuff. You mentioned Ceres too, Lisa. I think we can't not talk a little bit about what is the financial life of 2023 and inflation and food cost. Like, I mean, shit's just, I don't know if that's changing anytime soon, but I think those are all big things. But I think that full moon week on the 5th, then a few days later with Mercury and Aquarius too, does feel like, I don't know. I like a lot of what's happening in terms of the aspects and transits of Aquarius season. It feels really like supportive into like getting something new off the ground too, or like having like, I think so much of the last few months has been like, no, nothing new. Actually wrap it up. And now it's like, no, we can maybe take a little bit of a risk or change gears or pivot in terms of job or our social life or our creative life.
It feels like some creative discussions that always you come up against some sort of disagreement somewhere. And so we have to compromise. There are some squares in there as well. But thinking of, I agree, Stevie, we're trying something new, we're going, and then it'll be like, okay, getting an assignment, you implement this, then we decide, do we like that, do we not? But it does feel much more, I don't know, collaborative, all of the aspects, even if I like that Venus and Pisces too, of kind of adding that like, hey, but we are like, I don't know, it feels creative discussion. Again, I'm like, I can't stop thinking about bands, when can I ever? But thinking of that, of like, yeah, just because sometimes those like disagreements lead to that, like someone yells the missing lyric or whatever in the fight, and then everyone goes like, there it is, let's go. Like nothing feels like it's stopping the same way that it has in these past fixed signs. It feels like this is those last pieces of us moving to whatever is next. Not that conflict is done by any means, but there are, yeah.
I find Venus and Pisces interesting here too, because I'm married to one, natal one. And I think that sometimes they can really like I know this as a, I read all those things where it's like, I would never date a Taurus again. So like, as this person who knows I have the capability to like manipulate people in relationships and have worked really long to get away from that, but I could see how easily my sweet Venus Pisces, how easily I could, have them do something for me or make them think something was their idea when it's mine. Um, and so I think, again, it's like a very service oriented. And I think talking about Aquarius being humanitarian and stuff, I think the two things go together better than we give them credit for. And so I'm excited to see how actions of service and humanitarianism and social political stuff, how it moves forward. It obviously, we haven't had a great track record, but fingers crossed, maybe we'll see some people showing up for each other. Maybe we'll see some political parties showing up for their constituents. I'd love to see it.
Well, it's the group project of it. And it's like group projects suck because you have to both like do what you've been asked to do and trust that the other people are going to do what they said that they were going to do. And sometimes you come on the day that a project is due or there's a check-in and someone just did not do what they said that they were going to do. And then how do you go, from there? But that shouldn't stop us from still, doing the projects. And I like that thinking of the manipulative, because there is a way where you can go like, well, no one's going to do, again, that Aquarian, like, well, I have the best idea, so I'm just going to be back behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, making sure that it's still my idea. But can we all, like, not everyone's idea, again, we have to like pick an idea kind of, but
there's just something collective about both things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just looking at the transits of it too, right before that full moon, because we're going to get the sun square Uranus, like you mentioned, that's kind of that last taste of that trans, or not really, I guess. Like in terms, I'm thinking more of like the Saturn of it, like the squaring off of Aquarius Taurus energy is something we've experienced, but we're gonna have that Venus Pisces square Mars and Gemini too, leading up to that full moon. So I think knowing roles as well, right? Like you can have that group project, but like Julie said, like not everyone's gonna play guitar, and also like where the strengths and where the weaknesses come in together. And I think Pisces is so open and can try things out. And maybe it is trial periods. Maybe it's like, well, why don't we try it this way for a few weeks? And then if that doesn't work, that's when the Aquarius comes in. It's like, then we'll reshuffle like the organization. But I think the Pisces openness is a nice invite with all the Aquarian kind of Saturn and Uranus of like, I have this vision, it has to go this way. It's like, but we won't know until we try it a few different sorts of ways or see how that actually, it's different being in the practice space than being live. Like, even watching the strokes, like, wow, Julian Casablancas is quite shy. Like life was not really for him, but he is, maybe that's, not his role in that, like he is the front man, but like, that's not his like full-time job anyway. So I think that this invites a trying it out for yourself and experimenting, that mutableness that we keep talking about, especially as it leads up to Saturn and Pisces coming in March. But our final weeks of Saturn and Aquarius and we'll have the sun conjunct Saturn on February 16th to jump ahead a little bit too. So that feels like almost to me, just symbolically like what has this been for you? What has the sun being so illuminating of like, what is Saturn and Aquarius? Let's reflect a little bit too of like, what has all this work, what has been working, what has not in that Saturn, thinking of Saturn as like very like work structure, goal sort of thing. Yeah. I think this, well, I mean, it better be, I'm just kidding. Like this better be a good Aquarius season.
Yes.
I might have to have, I'll invite you guys. I used to do this party every year, but I haven't done it in a long time. I might have to, I'll send a DM.
Okay. A party.
Well,
yeah. And I think
a little hot dog party.
Ooh, that's a good reminder too of like, if you want, that a dance party, regular night at a club, or you're ready to start DJ. It feels very party, but maybe it's the Venus and Pisces of it, or you want to change jobs or whatever it is. It's like, well, you got to, this is, I think, the time to get those connections, meeting new people, letting people know who you are, what you're trying to do. I think that this is like really ripe with this Aquarian time.
Well, I think it is that I think the sun, Saturn, and all of these two are the like, well, it made me think of like, if you're not happy with who shows up to the party, then you might have to throw a different party. It might be the party that you're throwing or
invite
whatever,
only,
like that
then,
kind
okay?
of thing. Yeah. Or it could be who you're inviting, but it also is like, well, what are you communicating? How are your parties going? Are you doing the stuff? Like, are you doing your host role the way that you think that you should be doing? I don't know. Also just looking at how short Aquarius season always feels so short.
Yeah,
20th, the 20th
is.
through February 18th is when the sun will move into Pisces. And then like the next day, again, it's the same. I feel like Aquarius and Pisces season are always like, we move, we have a new moon, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And I do feel like that is also evident. I mean, not evidence, but that lightning striking, that Pisces like fog, you have to look at it from the right angle. But right after that, we're going to get Venus into air. Like stuff's moving again. And so I think that this is the like, yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. See, if not either, if you see something you don't like, let's fix it. But it might be the thing that is your thing. And so also like, maybe don't judge it.
Also, I just have to say again, too, I like this when Mercury moves into Aquarius on the 11th, too, because I think we're out of the cap Mercury that we had a retrograde in, and no better time to change our like operating systems, or just like Aquarius is just gonna, flip the picture upside down. It's like, oh, what if we made that the album art instead of having it straightforward? So I think it welcomes such a reorienting of how you would traditionally, in a very cap way, approach with an Aquarian twist. So get twisted, drink your twisted tea, and get twisted.
Well, that's very cards too. Which was that episode, or am I in the wrong episode?
Like revert. Oh yeah, with like I don't know
tarot
anymore.
cards. Like they don't with playing cards. They're often in a mirror where it doesn't matter which way you look at them. But like mystical cards, oftentimes have a right side up. So it's like what you're saying. The album art, the flip.
Ooh, if you don't read for reversals in Aquarius time is my thought.
I like that because it is also like a card always has the reverse within it, whichever way you're looking at it. It is still a reverse. Like we're afraid to look at it upside down, but it is the same card. But also thinking of those playing cards of like, it's both they're facing you, but they're also facing down and thinking of like an opponent. I love this is the hand, you got to play the hand that you're dealt, which is both you looking at the cards and how someone else is perceiving your like feeling about the cards hand that you have. So like this, I don't know, Aquarius is also very kind of like poker facey. That again, I just keep thinking about these Aquarius Aries sextile things because I think it's been such coming out of this Gemini. We've had such contentious, like there's been sparks of those Aries Gemini sextiles too, but having all of this like fixed square, having the retrograde in Capricorn, those cardinal squares too, and having this be again like a flip. We can.
I don't even feel like there's anything to take precaution of, because it's like you probably need something shaken up at this, don't we all? So I think this is just like, here are the info, see who's showing up, and I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to call in where you want to be and who that looks like and what that world is, but you got to make the moves too and let people know.
Yes.
And some projects might be short term and some might be long term. Like that's the other, like there's different seasons of everything.
I think just remembering that you can play like maybe you just win the one game of poker or whatever, but that also is cool. Like maybe you win on a bad hand and that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Well, happy Aquarius season, everyone.
Yeah.
Really Lunar New Year too. Really feeling like we're in New Year, rabbit year. So feeling New Year time.
Hop right in.
Yeah.
Hop in. Keep it moving.
Yes. And that is, it is rabbit. It is rabbit year. And that's
hoop little pellets wherever you go.
That's cares? That quick, those quick dodgy, like, they're like little and soft, but also like they're pretty hard to catch. So,
and
overcoming fear is a symbol for rabbits. What were we talking about with freedom?
And like with agriculture stuff, this is like my play for vegetarianism or whatever, for environmentalism. But like vegetables are usually cheaper. So if things are expensive, don't forget to check on the carrots and cucumbers and seeds and stuff.
We're thinking, I mean, going through all of this, like alternatives.
Alternatives. Okay,
What are
I'm
some
sorry.
alternatives?
House swapping, I'm trying to get that going on in 2023.
Uh-huh.
Why are we giving Airbnb our money? Let's meet all the cool. If you're listening to this and you have a nice apartment somewhere, like let's get the Google Doc going. If you like, I will swap you my home in Los Angeles. You live in Berlin? Do you live in Miami?
Yeah.
Like, let's get this
Ooh.
going.
Why do we only trust it when we're like paying too much for it?
Oh,
Well, you know
wow, for real.
part of that I think too is that it's mutual.
Yeah.
So it makes you where you're like, well, if they wreck my house, I know where they live. Like,
yeah.
But that's, I mean, all of that, like
100%.
mutually assured both success and destruction. And like, yeah, let's get some. We're churning.
Wow. Yeah. There's a new, if we can get the things that we're looking for, we just might, as humans do, adapt how we're getting it and finding the alternative.
We are adapting. We just have to decide, do we like these adaptations that we're making, or do we need to start adapting to something different? Shake it up.
All right. Yes. Well, happy
Sounds
Aqua
good.
season, y'all. We'll see you next Monday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.